Hey girl.
Hey friend, what's new in your world?
Oh, nothing. Just started a new true crime comedy podcast and I'm literally bursting at the seams. What about you?
I know, I'm so excited. This is so much fun. What are we covering today?
Oh boy, it's Princess Diana. Red alert, red alert. I have here in my notes, insert the Patrick screams here.
This was a really fun one to do, and to pick as our first case, it's truly only going up from here.
I agree. From the top, you guys, before we get into it, we just want to add that this episode was pre recorded before Queen Elizabeth's passing. And although what we say doesn't really change, I don't take anything back.
Me
but
neither.
good. So it's all still sad nonetheless.
Yeah, the queen was kind of trash.
Literal trash. Okay, so this is actually a little bit of a long episode, but I promise you there's some really good stuff in there. And if you listen to the trailer, like Brooke said, we are very well researched and we try to be. So, yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, here it is, episode 1, Princess Diana. Okay, so today we are talking about the death slash potential murder of of Princess Diana.
Very,
I
very
know.
scary. Like, and we just passed 25 years
Well,
of her anniversary.
okay, so I have a confession. I'm not really a royal person. I like,
No, same.
okay, good. I didn't really like watch, Kate and I don't even fucking
Mm-mm.
know Kate and William.
Yeah,
I didn't really watch their wedding. I didn't even know who Meghan Markle was before she like
same.
got engaged. Like I had seen like one episode of Suits. And then
Wait, she was an actress?
yeah, that's
Oh, see,
and
I didn't even know that.
Suits is kind of like I think her big like breakout thing because it's obviously like a
Okay.
long reoccurring role. And I think that was a pretty popular show when it was on. I was too young for
Huh.
that, but it's a good show. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched it like very recently.
Uh-huh.
But she yeah, so I don't know like actually how they met. Maybe just like
I'm not in tune with any of them, and like, especially after diving into this, like, Elizabeth is a fucking character on her own, and she's something else. But like going through what I've watched and the research that I've done, is like I genuinely like don't care for her.
yeah.
So as long as like she's in reign, like that's fine with me to not keep up with what's going on at all.
Yeah, for real. And like I mean, what she died in 1997, so I was 2 years old. I wasn't even 2 yet cuz my birthday's in October. So she died in
Okay.
August. So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't
I
even
was 3.
okay.
Wait, I'm older than you?
I did I think we talked about this the other day actually.
Barely.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Um
Surprise.
I know. You obviously have a better skincare regimen than I do because your skin looks way better. But
God,
uh,
no, I'm like burned from tanning the other day. That's what this is. This is my skin melting.
um, but yeah, so she died in 97. So it was like I was way too young to
Yeah.
even know what was going on. And I just didn't really ever care about this. Like I knew briefly the story and I knew that
Hmm.
there were conspiracies around it. That was the extent of what I knew.
Right.
So researching this for 2-ish weeks plus whatever, it is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be, and now I'm, like,
I
really glad
agree.
that I know about it, but it was not ever on my radar beforehand.
Yes. No, I agree. And two, like, I know we had talked obviously off the record or whatever about getting into conspiracies or not. But like when I tried looking into them and I tried to use so many keywords to find things, like the videos were so bleak and the articles weren't even like that deep into the any potential conspiracies. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's not something that's I guess really worth treading on just because I think it seems pretty clean and cut as to what happened, but
And, I'll get into it at the end, but, the
Mhm.
person who was pushing all of these conspiracies was Muhammad Al-Fayed, Dadi Al-Fayed's father,
Right.
and I mean, every single article, video, anything that I found on him basically sought just to discredit him and make him seem like a crazy person, and he kinda is. So
Yeah.
I think that's also adding to why, like, there are conspiracies about it, but, like, nobody gives them any weight.
Right. Right. I agree.
So
I agree. So fuck all the conspiracies. Do you wanna? I mean, I think we're both on the team conspiracies if they're pretty credible or if they seem credible. If there's a good enough background to all of them. Um, but in this case, I just don't think they have any sort of precedent or
Yeah.
ground, really.
My philosophy on conspiracies is I'm open to hearing them, but there are so many things that have to be going exactly in the most bizarre, like, river of thought
Mm,
for for most conspiracies to be true. Like
mhm.
there have to be so many people keeping so many secrets from so many other people.
Right.
And
Right.
that's just why, like, conspiracies are I'm open to them, but I there's
Yeah.
not a lot that I believe.
Total sidetrack, it has to do with conspiracies, but I was scrolling through TikTok aimlessly a few days ago, and I saw a video that, like, stopped me in my tracks, and this guy was, like, dead fucking set on Britney Spears being the daughter of Janet Jackson.
What?
Yes, and I was like, "What? There's no fucking way." Like, there's just no way, and, like,
No.
all he kept going to and I only watched the one video because I was like, "This is so absurd." All he kept going to was, like, how well their performances match up and, like, the same cadence of, like, choreography and energy. I was like, "Well, Janet, like, kinda paved the way for a lot of pop artists also, so, like,
Yeah.
what choreographer would not kind of pay homage or play off that choreography?" But I was like, "Really, bro? Like, Janet and Britney?
I mean, how about the fact that Britney Spears is white as fuck?
White?" Yeah, I know.
Like, love her, but she's so
I know.
white.
That was a reach, but I was like, this is the kind of conspiracies that, like, I don't have time for, but I do not think that Michael Jackson is dead. I
Really?
will say that. I will
Oh,
say
we'll have
that.
to get into that some other time,
Uh-huh.
but maybe
That'll be a good
I was gonna
episode.
say we'll do an episode on
Yes.
King Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into what we're actually talking about today.
Okay.
So, um, Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, which is a lot of names,
Yes.
Prince of Wales. So we wanted to start with sort of like how they met and
Mhm.
the romance that came between Prince Philip or Prince Charles and uh, formerly Lady Diana Spencer.
Mhm. So
Um,
sad.
I know. So I guess the first thing to note, which I thought this was really interesting and something that I feel like most people gloss over because I always knew that there was, rumor slash evidence that Prince Charles was cheating on Princess Diana with Camilla Bowles.
Camilla Parker.
Camilla Parker
Is it
Bowles.
Bowles? Is it Bowles or Bowles? I think it's Bowles.
I think it's Bowles too.
But the E just fucking she sucks anyways, I
Yeah,
guess.
she
Her
does.
part in this sucks, so she's a bowel.
Uh, but yeah, so he dated Camilla Parker Bowles before he ever met the lady of like at this time Lady Diana. So
Mhm. Yeah.
he dated her before he went off to war, which again I didn't know that he was in the war, like he
I
actually
didn't know that
served.
either.
Um
Mm.
but he told her not to wait for him since he knew his parents wouldn't approve since he was going to be king. And apparently, which like this is fucking gets my blood going. The
Mhm.
reason that the queen and king did not approve of her is because she had had too many former sexual partners.
Wow, well, I would be fucked for any sort of place in the royal family, so
Same. And then also, this is the manipulative bullshit that the queen does. She put out a newspaper article herself that Camilla's boyfriend proposed even though he had not. And then once it
Huh.
became public info, quote unquote, it was in the paper, he was like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna propose."
Oh my
And Camilla
god.
was just like, "Well, I guess I will say yes." And then they got married within a few months because apparently no one had long engagements at this time.
Uh-huh.
Which makes me very anxious, but it's fine.
Mhm.
So yeah, so
How conniving, like, how could you do that to and I get if, like, Charles told her to move on and kinda seemed like he was going in a different direction, also he was going off to war, but, like, how conniving of a mom to do that. Like, even if that was, like, someone that he truly loved and, like, really wanted to rekindle with later on, like, that's bogus. That's fucked up.
I know, like, and, God bless my parents, I love them, but I also came from a situation in which my mom, like, told me, "You're not gonna date that boy, you're not gonna
Mhm.
whatever," but to, like, force them into a marriage is just, like, a whole
Yeah.
other level of
God.
manipulation because you're not only controlling your own family, like, then you're controlling other people's lives, and, like,
Yes.
that's why there shouldn't be royal families. There
Exactly.
first time,
They
hot
have
take, I'm gonna
too
say it.
much reign. Yes, nope,
Way
I
too
agree.
much.
I agree. So the next thing that I have, I guess I don't know if it kind of transitions into your notes, but and I again had no idea that he went off to war, so I really don't know what time frame that was. But in August of 1980, news had leaked that 31-year-old Prince Charles, um, with 72 names, spent the weekend with a 19-year-old Diana Spencer. Diana was, or Lady Diana, she was a teaching assistant at a nursery school in London. What really blows my mind is like the obvious age gap, like 31 and 19. Like even in today's society, well, and I guess in like American society is a big difference too. Like that would not be acceptable by any means. But also, I guess if you come from like an echelon of power or position, maybe that is a little bit different. But like 31 and 19 seems not aggressive, but like, ew.
I thought that was the first, very clear sign that this was a marriage of proper, like,
Yes.
channels
Okay.
versus love
Yeah.
because, like, we'll get into it further into their relationship, but that was I mean, what do you even have to talk about with somebody that's
Y
12 years
yes.
older than you and in those 2 stages of your life? Like, if you're 12 years older than somebody, but you're 56 and 64 or whatever,
Right.
that's different. You've already been
Right.
there, done that. But at 19, like, what I was doing at 19, I literally was just, like, getting blackout drunk every single
I can't even
weekend.
say it on the mic, like, I don't wanna persecute myself. It's not worth it.
But yeah, like, I remember when I was 22, I was on a flight from Washington, D.C. to Albany, New York, which is, like, the airport that was closest to where I went to college, and
Mhm.
I sat next to a guy who was, like, somewhere in, like, his mid-30s or whatever, and I was 22 about to graduate from college, and he felt so old to me, like, we had a very, like, spark connection thing,
Mhm.
whatever, that, like, I totally thought he was gonna ask my for my number, but then,
Uh-huh.
like, throughout the conversation, I revealed that I was still in college and, like, only 22 or whatever, and so he,
Oh,
like, backed off, which was
yeah.
very noble of him. Ashley, I don't
Yes.
know your last name, but he was a man named Ashley. If you're out there and listening to this
Okay.
for some reason, good for you, but
Shout out Ashley. Raise your
yeah,
kids right.
exactly. But he like, even then, we were a little bit closer in stages of life, and I still was
Mhm.
like, I this was a nice conversation for an hour and a half plane ride, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what else we would talk about if we ever went
No.
on a real date, like, I mean, he's been working for 15 years, and I
Yeah.
am a child
Studying, yeah.
comparatively.
I
So
feel that way too with, like, totally off the rails, but, like, I feel that way with some of my coworkers too, like,
yes.
especially, like, in a big corporation in which I work in, like, everyone is so uh, much older and like
Yes.
has far more experience than I do. So it's like we just had our end of year event this Tuesday. So that like that was my first time meeting anybody in the office. Like I've never seen
True.
anybody with legs. So it was
COVID.
weird. Yeah. So it was weird seeing them in person, but also being like, well, I really don't have anything to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, it was open bar. It was great. It was a quick 2 hours
Yeah.
and I left. But yeah, 31 and 19 years old, I could not imagine.
No.
I could
And,
not.
the other most bizarre thing I think about their whole engagement, whatever, they met in person 13 times after they, like, re-met because they knew each other as
Mhm.
kids, if for t a little bit of background information. They knew
Okay.
each other as kids, but again, such a huge age difference, it was like
Uh-huh.
the neighbor boy kinda thing.
Right.
They met each other again at a polo match that he was playing
Mhm.
in and she was just, like, watching. They got reintroduced. They saw each other 13 times in person before the wedding.
Oh, hell no. That sounds very like if that's not orchestrated or someone like really guiding your way to like 13 times, I can't imagine that.
And,
And then
like,
to get married.
every single one of those is on camera, right? Like, or
Uh-huh.
they're an interview, or they're just, like, paparazzi everywhere because they were so famous and everybody cared so much who the next king was going to marry
Mhm.
that they just, like, wouldn't leave them alone for 2 seconds. So, like, 13 dates that are not real dates, in my
No.
opinion.
To the point of the paparazzi, like, Diana knew also that she didn't wanna say too much with the paparazzi around, because she was warned by her older sister, Lady Sarah Spencer, who's actually dating Prince Charles 3 years prior to Diana and Charles.
Also so
Um,
weird.
I know, the circle I mean, I've been in some weird situations and, like, talked to some guys where they've, like, talked to the guy that I've either dated before, so, like, that's totally different, but, like, to go from sister to sister, I couldn't fucking imagine,
I
but
know.
I think Charles well, the warning that Sarah her name's Sarah? Yeah,
Yeah.
the warning that Sarah gave Diana was, the reason they broke things off or the reason Charles broke things off was because Sarah spoke to the press. So, like, this press alone and speaking to them, I guess, kind of without any sort of assistance, really, or someone to squeeze your hand if you're saying too much, is really a bad thing in that situation.
Oh, I did not know that. I knew like, in my research, I had saw that they dated, but um, they were I didn't realize that that was the reason he
Mhm.
broke things off. I just thought they didn't
What
like
a
each other.
it's just probably that too.
Yeah, I don't think honestly, I don't think that Charles ever liked anyone other than Camilla.
No. Mhm. I agree with that. And I don't even know much about Camilla, but, like, he goes back to her at some point later on, so, I mean, that kind of sets has some ground to stand on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he
Um,
goes back to her multiple times, like,
yeah.
their affair never really ended or restarted, like, it was just kinda
Mhm.
ongoing for the extent.
And I think this is where too, like, the queen started to have a lot of pressure on or put a lot of pressure on Charles to have things tied down. Of course, everything was so publicized and everything with the paparazzi, and like you said, the next king who's gonna be who is his choice in women, I guess is how you can phrase it.
Gross.
Um, I know, but the queen wanted Charles to settle down, and produce an heir, and to her, Diana really seemed like the perfect choice, but they also kind of had or Diana's family also had a dose of the royal life, I guess, in
Mhm.
their own little way. Um, Diana and Sarah's father was an equerry?
Oh, yeah, so before they were engaged, or actually, I don't know when this happened, but,
Mhm.
originally, her father was Viscount Althorp, and then, later he was, like, promoted, and he became the 8th Earl Spencer, and her mother was then known as Honorary Mrs. Shand Kidd.
All these tiers of titles and positions are another thing that I can't wrap my mind
So
around.
insane. I tried to do so much research. Like, remember I texted you that I was watching a six-part documentary that I didn't
Yeah.
realize was a six-part.
Yeah.
That was only on, like, the is that was the royal family, like, the Royal House of Windsor was the name of the
Mhm.
documentary. So it was just about,
Okay.
like, the the way that that family came to be, why they were in
Oh,
power,
okay.
who they were, and, like, the structure of all of that shit, and I was
Jesus.
like, "I don't fucking have the
It's
patience
like a
for this."
college course on its own.
Yeah, and, like, I've heard some people say that, like, "Oh, you just have to watch The Crown and then you'll, like, understand it," but I don't. Nah, no, thank you.
That's not also something that I can get into, like, what's the other one? Uh, Bridgerton? Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that are really into that, and it sounds interesting, but, like, I can't commit. I'd rather watch, like, Euphoria and get drink while I watch it, like, Bridgerton or The Crown is just nothing. It's not my cup of tea.
It's so proper. That's what I can't handle about it,
Yeah.
like,
No.
I mean, fuck, I like, I'm tatted and pierced and
Uh-huh.
whatever, like, that is just not the life for me.
No.
It's a little bit fascinating, but not enough to, like, devote time to watch The Crown.
I don't know if you caught this in your, research, but, Diana's kinda first brush with the press or the paparazzi was, a picture that was taken of her. I don't know whose kid she's holding, but she's holding a boy, assuming it's a boy, and a younger girl, kind of toddlers, but the sunlight is behind them, so it's projecting onto her back, and she has a white dress or a skirt on, and you can see the silhouette of her legs. So that was when that picture came out, the queen was pretty unhappy about that, and Diana was
Oh my
pretty
god.
embarrassed because, she was quoted as saying, quote, "I don't wanna be remembered for not having a petticoat," in response to that picture, and it's like, to us, and to me, it's a very innocent and real life situation kind of picture, it's very candid, but, like, something as simple as, like, the fucking silhouette of your legs through a skirt is bananas.
I just
Like, that was your first media mishap?
I just think that's so crazy when you compare that to, like, Kim Kardashian, who literally shows up in, like, naked dresses to the Oscars
Yes!
or whatever that I don't remember what she wore that dress for, but
Don't even get me started on Marilyn Monroe's dress that she wore, like, that shit fucking enrages me. She had no
Um,
right.
no, she really didn't. The media mishaps also with, like, or I guess, like, things that the queen didn't like really is, like, Princess Diana was always seen not wearing gloves while shaking hands with the public, and the queen made a big stink
Oh,
about, "You are touching common people with your hands, and you need to stop." And
shut up. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
I think that and then it was so Princess Diana, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but had a very strong passion for, like, AIDS and the gay community in
Mhm,
particular,
mhm.
that she was in hospitals, like, holding the hands of AIDS patients as they were dying, which is, like, one of the most noble things I've ever heard of a
Oh,
person of that stature doing,
mhm.
and the queen was
And no
like,
one till, like, to this day does anything like that,
"Oh god,
which is so
no."
fucking sad.
And they didn't know at the time because the research was so lax on AIDS that, like, it wasn't transmittable by skin, but
Right.
Diana was just like, "These people need the comfort of human touch, it's more important," and the
Mhm.
queen was like, "You're gonna get AIDS from that, like, stop it." I
Fuck
know.
her, and I've also never I feel like I've never seen Diana with gloves.
I know, and I didn't think that that was like, a thing. I just thought that it was, like, the queen was so old that, like,
Mhm.
gloves had been a part of the fashion of her time, not that it was because she
Right.
was royal. And so,
Oh,
like,
okay.
when I see the queen with gloves on today, I just, like, thought that that was, like, part of her fashion. I
Of
mean,
her
yeah.
period.
Yeah, like, my grandma still wears, like, weird shit because it was just, like,
Uh-huh.
the fashion that she was
Yeah.
used to, and now
Mhm.
things have changed, but no, it's a royal protection, basically.
God, she fucking sucks. I can't stand
Yeah.
this woman.
I just thought she made a couple of comments, like, in interviews after they got engaged, and she
Mhm.
said once that, um, Charles was the only man who could never divorce her, and that was part of the reason why she wanted to marry him.
Hmm.
Irony. And I think, like, Paul made a comment in the documentary, he made a comment about her that she changed the royal family forever, and he, like, quote, "The ghost of Diana will always haunt the House of Windsor,"
Mhm.
and that he, made Kate and Meghan's lives possible, that they are how they
Mhm.
are, and I think that that is really, what you're saying, that, like, she came out on top in a lot of ways, and I think that she's way more famous than Prince Charles will ever be.
Absolutely, abso-fucking-lutely, and Paul too, Paul Burrell, I believe is the pronunciation of his last name, he actually had a lot of really good quotes, and I did not think that it was gonna be solely focused around him the entire time as a talking head, which as it went on, like, I didn't mind at all because he had a lot of firsthand and information and insight, and things that I've never really heard of, as to, like, what really went on inside of, like, the house and inside of Diana's head, but he had, like, a lot of really good quotes.
Bless her heart, Kate Middleton, I don't know what her new title is, whatever. She is I think she's a really great lady. I think she's a great mother from what I've seen. Like, again, I'm not a big royal person, so I don't, like, keep up with everything that they do, but she seems to be very into it, and like, seem to be a very happy marriage and everything, but, like, there are very few women who are going to ever be able to stand up to the royal family of England the way that Princess Diana did, and I think that that's, like, a once in a century kind of thing, so
In a lot of ways, Diana did it in a very silent way, and it wasn't
mhm.
so much as like a verbal or reactionary kind of thing. Like she did what she knew was and is right in a lot of situations, but she really gave them the finger, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, same.
Diana and Charles got engaged on February 24th, 1981, which was only 6 months after they started dating that they got engaged,
Yep.
which I think, I don't know, whatever. It's no, we got engaged like over a year after.
Yeah, you said that you guys moved in together 6 months after you started dating.
Which is kind of like not lesbian fast, but it's like it's kinda fast. It's not Patrick fast how we did
Yeah.
it. I don't know, whatever. But they got engaged 6 months after they started dating. Diana's ring was a $50,000 diamond and sapphire engagement, which is only worth mentioning because it becomes relevant in my notes later. And then there 5 months later after that, on July 29th, 1981, they get married, and the entire world practically watches as Lady Diana becomes a princess.
Yeah, so they got married at St. Paul's Cathedral and then their reception was at Buckingham Palace.
Mhm. Goals.
And
Just kidding.
oh, fuck. This wedding though, oh my god, okay, yeah, so we should talk about it.
Okay.
So it was watched by 1 billion people, or like that's what like the television broadcast numbers were. It
Yeah.
was 1 billion people. And it's not the most in the documentary, Paul says that that was the most watched event in human history was their wedding.
Mhm.
And at the time, yes, it was.
Right.
There have only been 4 events since then that were watched more. It was, Live Aid, like the one that
Mhm.
Queen played in, like the
Mhm.
band Queen, that if you watched Bohemian Rhapsody, that's a big plot point of that
Great
movie.
fucking movie.
Beautiful movie, oh my god, I cry every time. Um, and then they did, like, a reboot called Live 8, in 2005, and those are the 2 most watched of all time,
Mhm.
like 100 million people difference in the 2 of them, and then
Damn.
next after that was CCTV New Year's Gala in 2019. I don't know why 2019 was such a big year, but apparently it was,
Hmm.
and that was 1.17 billion people,
Mhm.
and then Sydney's
It was
n
just a New Year's event, that's all it was?
Yep, and then
What
Sydney's
the
New
hell?
Year's Eve in 2010 was the 4th, almost as many
Hmm.
as the other New Year's Eve, and then after that, the wedding of Princess Charles and Lady Diana.
What's weird is that I didn't hear that Britney Spears's Super Bowl performance was on that list because that I feel like made history and should definitely be one of the most watched things ever.
I agree, and apparently we're just gonna be a Britney Spears stan podcast from now on, but,
We're changing the whole thing.
yeah, no, there's nothing really, like, American per se that's on here,
Hmm,
like, a lot of these things are international,
that's fine with me.
yeah, so The Wall, live in Berlin, which I'm guessing was, like, when they actually, like, right after they tore it down, they did a concert apparently,
Okay.
um, so because that was in 1990. Um, oh, I guess this is purely American. The first inauguration of Barack Obama that's the
Oh,
same amount of people as the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana
holy
Spencer.
shit, really?
Yeah.
Damn. What Diana really had going for her, though, is that she had the longest train in royal history.
Okay, yeah, that shit I couldn't find any because I was like, when he said the most watched event in human history, I was like,
Uh-huh.
I have a hard time believing that. But so I couldn't find anything about the trains or the most. He also said the most creased dress in
Yes,
royal
the
history.
shade.
That dress was god awful.
It
I'm
was
sorry.
hideous.
I
It
hated
was
it.
of the times, but God, it was terrible. But 20 a
And the
25-foot train, that's massive.
and the veil that
Oh,
she wore. Oh
the
my god. I was like, you can't see. What is going on here?
listen, it had 10,000 pearls on her dress and her veil. So that is, yeah,
What?
fucking insane. So listen, she can't see, but she's carrying 10,000 pearls. So Fucking eat that, Kim K. Like, shit.
That was a dress
The
and a
creases were
half.
real, though, like, they were terrible.
So bad. I mean, the shoulders on that thing, like, I know it was the
Oh, I
'80s, but,
know.
like, God, her
It looks
shoulders
like
were
she's gonna churn butter, though, like, she's it's not cute.
No, it's really not, and the color was so weird, like, I would expected her to have, like, a pure white dress, but it was, like, this
Mhm.
very bizarre champagne color, and, like,
Yeah.
my sister wore a champagne dress for her wedding. I loved her dress very, very much. I know a lot of
Mm.
brides wear, like, champagne-y colored dresses
Yeah.
now, it's very popular because none of us are virgins when we get married anymore,
Right.
and but, like, she's a queen, or she's gonna be queen, like,
Right.
God.
I know. Where's Bob Mackie when you need him? So, a photographer, I don't know what the timeline of this was or when it happened, but a photographer in Diana and the Paparazzi, which is another documentary that I watched, said that she wasn't pretty. She was
Ouch!
attractive and she knew
What?
that, but Diana also knew her angles because of her rather large nose.
Fuck. Oh my god. See, this is okay, 5 second soapbox. Women are so pressured today to like get fucking plastic surgery and like do all this bullshit. And I love to blame the Kardashians because fuck them and like fuck Chloe for sitting there and saying that like women who eat ice cream are never going to be skinny. Fuck you, Chloe. You used to be fat. But
Yeah.
um it it is so much deeper than that, and, like, this is a perfect example. The Kardashians weren't even thought of yet, and they're telling Diana that
Exactly.
her nose is too big. Fuck that.
And a comment like that, like, in being in such a principal role in, I guess, your royal history or whatever, I don't even know what I'm saying, but, like, to hear a comment like that and to be so self-conscious, like, the Diane and the Paparazzi documentary or movie, whatever it was, got into like, they spent a pretty good amount of time talking about, like, how Diana, would look up and down a lot, and, of course, like you said earlier, a lot of the things we see of Diana were filmed a lot, so everything was done in the public, but she had this kind of, like, puppy dog look with the big eyes looking right at you, but, which is very unnatural, like, for anyone to look like that, like, no
Yeah.
one really looks like that, but she knew I guess in some ways what worked best for her, but also what was gonna get, like, the best picture. So, like, she was playing a lot off of the press and essentially giving them kind of what they wanted, but, like, the fucking ridicule for, like, "It's a fucking nose, people." Like
Well, the other thing about that that makes me so mad is that's such, like, a whitewashing thing, right? Like, no other, like,
mhm.
race is, like, so obsessed with, like, having a little petite tiny nose like fucking white people, and,
Right,
like,
right.
you know, like, know of so many people who have told me about this that, like, their grandmothers are always like, "Oh, you need to marry that man because he has a good nose," or whatever, because, like, they're
What
black
the
and
hell?
have a big nose, and their grandmothers are like, "Oh, you need to marry someone with, like, a smaller nose than you so that genetically your children will be more
Oh,
balanced." Which is like which, like, I'm all
wow.
for,
Uh-huh.
the mixing of races and everything, that's
Yeah,
how we
yeah,
get
yeah.
genetically superior humans, but not through fucking eugenics, but,
Right.
like, also, just let people fucking be who they are. Not everybody's nose has to be a certain mold, not like
Mhm.
your eyes don't have to be a certain shape, your eyes don't have to be a certain color. Cause like,
Yeah.
what you were saying about Diana, like, knowing what works for her or whatever, she never ever doesn't have her eyes tight lined, which is like when you have
Mhm.
eyeliner in your waterline for people
Yeah.
who aren't into makeup like we are.
Yes.
Um, she always has her eyes tight lined because it makes them so extra blue.
Mhm.
And she really kind of played on that, like, blonde hair, blue-eyed, like,
Yes.
perfect thing, and, like, yeah, again, maybe she wasn't the most beautiful woman that's ever walked this earth, but, like,
Mhm.
she was still beautiful, and also she
And she
was
was very natural, like, she had natural
yeah.
beauty too. You can't captivate anything like that nowadays.
Yeah, and, like, I also noticed as much as she tightlined, she never had a lot of foundation on. She
No.
never really looks like her skin is done, which, like, again, you very natural. She had great skin, so, like, play that up,
She had
girl.
not a fucking pore in sight, and I'm
No,
so jealous.
I
My
know.
pores are huge.
I
God.
can't see them right now, if that makes you feel better.
'Cause I'm burned. All you see is red. So I guess that kinda goes into, like, Diana wasn't really given a whole lot of, advice within the royal family, but she was given a lot of course etiquette cues, Some that I found were keep your head down, behave yourself, look nice, learn a few words of the local language, remember where you are, and always walk 2 steps behind your husband. Which that last one fucking
Mm.
pissed me off when they said it.
Yeah.
She should have been leading Charles's bitch ass, if anything.
Well, I actually have a note that later on, like they kind of like in through interviews and things that they talked to Charles about, it kind of was concluded that he did not like the fact like he would have been more content with her, even though, like I said earlier, I don't think he ever liked anybody but Camilla. I think he
Mhm.
would have stayed in a marriage with somebody if they had been behind him in his opinion, that like
Yeah.
they weren't as famous, but she was always the center of attention. She was the
Mhm.
superstar and he just wasn't, and it's because he's a fucking wet blanket. Like, he has
Yep.
no personality. And he once made a joke about, and this is the most like I just wanted to punch him when he said this. It would have been easier to have 2 wives so that one could walk down each side of the street and I could just walk down the middle conducting the whole operation.
Get the fuck out of here.
And when he
Get
said
fucked.
that, they panned to her, to Diana. She was, like, sitting
Uh-huh.
there while he was saying that, and she just has this, like, sheet white, just
Oh.
devastated look on her
Oh
face
my
that she,
god.
because she already knew that he did basically have 2 wives, only
Yeah, yeah.
she was the only one on the street having to shake hands with the public. Like, Camilla just got
Right.
to fucking sit around and eat bonbons all day.
Basically,
Ugh.
God.
One of the things that, or one of the clips that I saw over and over in, like, every documentary that I watched on her
Mhm.
was her on the water slide at it looked like Splash Mountain at Disney, but that's the only point of reference that I
Uh-huh.
have. I've never been to a European water park or theme
Uh-huh.
park, but
Right.
it's like a log ride like that, and you sit, like, one at a
Okay.
time, and it's, like, William and Harry in the front and then her and Prince Charles in the back, and
Mhm.
they they're just, like, on this ride like normal people, and they just, like, are
Oh.
having so much fun, and, like, they get soaked, and it's fine, and she's not, like, pissed off, she's not, like,
Yeah.
embarrassed, she's not, like, "Point that camera away from me," or whatever, and, like,
Right.
I think that they use that clip so often because that's such a, a common person thing to
Yeah.
do, is to
Not for me, I hate being wet, but this isn't about me.
You're not a common person then.
No.
Um,
I guess that's a good segue to get into the kids.
yeah,
So son William was born in 1982,
June
and 2 years
21st is his birthday,
June
so it was
21st.
almost exactly a year after their wedding.
Damn, okay. And then I don't have the date for Charles either, but he was born 2 years later in
September
1984.
15th. Yeah,
Okay.
he's a Virgo.
And then after Virgo, Pisces rule. But after she had the kids, they kind of delve into the Diana's depression, whether it was postpartum or she had just everything that she was dealing with and this whole new lifestyle that she has. Um, Her depression really grew. She noticed a lot that Charles is getting distracted. All she needed was for Charles to be there for her, and Charles in a circle just didn't understand it. So in their royal family experience, when a baby is born, you hand it over to the nanny. And like you said, more of like the wholesome moments that Diana had with the kids on that Splash Mountain like ride, she just wanted to be very hands-on.
Yeah.
She wanted to be like an actual mother, like she didn't want to pass her kid on to anybody else.
So a couple things about, like, that like, I have in that section, I guess.
Mhm.
So there was an interview after William was born. They're talking about, they're on, like, a radio show, and they asked them what William's favorite toy was, and they were
Mhm.
talking about that he loves a koala, and he has this little whale that throws balls out of its blowhole or whatever, and they're, like, just
Mhm.
being, like, silly and natural or whatever.
Yeah.
But Charles puts his hand, like, up to his face like this, like he's, like, talking into Diana so that, like,
Uh-huh.
it's not in the microphone and then she can talk into the microphone.
Yeah.
He does not have a wedding ring on, all he has is a pinky ring on. So it's like,
Huh.
it's not the fact that he can't wear a ring, because, like, I kinda get it if, like, some people are like, "I don't like the feeling of rings," or whatever, so they don't
Right,
wear a ring.
right.
But he's wearing a fucking pinky ring, which is so trashy
It is.
anyway, and then you're not going to wear a wedding ring? Like, what is wrong with you? This is ugh, just, like, I feel like all of these little things are adding up to why their marriage was so unhappy. And then also, like, uh, the whole thing about while she was pregnant with William and she threw herself down the stairs. I meant to say this when you were saying about her depression, but we got distracted. But she threw herself down the stairs while she was
Oh my
pregnant
god.
in order to get Charles' attention. And luckily, I mean, we see him today. William is a perfectly healthy man, but
Mhm.
there was nothing wrong with him. But she was extremely depressed to the point of self-harm, and she
Oh shit, I
also
didn't know that.
yeah, she also claims that she tried to cut her wrist with a razor blade. But
Oh.
and I hate this part of the media, but it also is worth noting that the reporters claim that they never saw a scar or that she went to the hospital or anything like
Mm,
that, or like a wound that they could see. So
yeah.
like I don't know. I don't know how much stock to put, but I did see the
Right.
thing about her throwing herself down the stairs in multiple sources.
I'd never heard of that.
So that
Wow.
I'm very confident actually happened, but as far as the cutting herself thing, I
Right.
can't speak to that as much, but because I only saw that in one source
Okay.
and then the reporters were like, "We never saw scars." So yeah, so but she was
And they would
extremely
love to have that fucking picture too, to be able to, like, zoom in on it and
for sure. Yeah, I mean, she had her first child when she was 20 years old, and, like, again,
Jesus.
we talked about what we were doing at 19, like, I was doing the exact same thing at 20. I was not ready to be
Yeah.
married with a child that was
Right.
going to be the future king of England, like,
Oh my
that's
god.
insane. And I like, another thing I just wanted to say about what a piece of
Mhm.
shit that Charles is,
Mhm.
when Harry was born, he was extremely open, not necessarily in the media, but to like the other people that were like close in their lives, that he was mad that Harry wasn't a girl and that he had red hair because that came from Diana's side of the family. Because
What?
the entire royal family, like the bloodline is German, which German people don't really have red hair. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
And but Diana was actually English, which like British and Irish and Scottish people all have red hair. That's a very
Yeah.
normal thing there.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the things that I did find out when I watched the part of that six-part documentary that I got through is that, like, they were all German because of w like, that family married out into, like, every single other royal
Okay.
family in Europe in, like, the 1700s and 1800s and everything. Is like,
Mhm.
they just kept, like, spawning off more people, and so, like, she was the first, English person married into the royal family in, like, 100 years or something.
Oh shit.
They all were, like, often marrying, Germans or, like,
Mhm.
whatever, and they or maybe to the only to the future king or something
Mhm.
like that, maybe it was a little more specific, but, yeah, they a lot of times they were not marrying purely English people, and I think maybe
Hmm.
she was like, Diana was so blonde hair and blue-eyed that he just assumed that, like, that was gonna take
Right.
over, but, like, you never know how genes are gonna work, dude.
Exactly. The next thing I had was the kiss that wasn't. I think this was when it really got into the public eye of the real problems that were going on between Diana and Charles. So Charles had won first place at a polo match, and Diana was supposed to present him with his winning prize. Diana didn't want to do it. I think it was Paul. I think Paul was there with her, and he was like, "Listen, you have to do it." And Paul said it took a lot of persuading to get her to do it. So when Charles won, and he walked to get his prize, he went in for a kiss, and Diana turned her head, so Charles is over her right shoulder in the picture, and Diana's face is just turned to the left side of his profile. Yeah, so when that picture
Mm.
got publicized, of course it blew up. Of course, all the media went fucking crazy with it. But that was kind of the world's first peak of the ways that she would rebel and that she wasn't gonna be so prim and proper and on a rope anymore.
My only thing is, like, I don't know, I like, even with people that I really want to kiss, like, sometimes they go in for a kiss and I'm just, confused, and I turn my face because I
Mhm.
just, like, don't I'm not expecting it, like, I don't know, I feel like that's and again, that's the thing about famous people and scrutinizing every single thing that they do is that
Mhm.
it it's hard to decipher when you're not the person being kissed or doing the kissing, right? You're just a third party making a guess. Shut up.
But there's also, like, a lot of kisses that get played out on, like, red carpets or whatever at events that it's like, it's kind of, like, cringy, like, it doesn't even seem like
Oh,
they actually
yeah.
wanna kiss each other, and it's like, okay, I guess I will say, like, the Johnny Depp and Amber Turd fiasco that went on, but, like, I can't imagine, like, how Johnny must have felt, like, having to feel like he needed to kiss her and,
Yeah.
like, just all of that bullshit, like, that's a way off the rails, that's out of left field.
I think the same thing about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh god, I hate
Every kiss
them.
I've seen in the last, like, 5, 6 years, I'm like, "Mm, that looks fake." Oh, something that very interested me, and I only found it in one place, but it was a recording, so obviously it's
Mhm,
true. The
mhm.
original statement about their decision was it said, "The prince and princess have no plans to divorce." It was just that they
Huh.
were separating, and then
Oh.
it, like, I guess, escalated. I don't know how true that was at the time, but that was the official royal statement was that they had no plans to divorce.
Just separate.
Yeah,
Huh.
and it did
Hmm.
take a long time after they separated until they actually divorced, and, like, my
Yeah.
parents are divorced, and it took less than a year after they, like, decided to divorce before their divorce was
Mhm.
final, and, like, they didn't go through, like, an official separation period, it was just like, "Let's get divorced," kinda thing,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
they but, like, less than a year for an official divorce, like, I can't and that is because they had to decide who got what, right? Like, if you're the
Yes.
prince
Mhm.
of fucking Wales, like, I don't care if you're Diana, you're not getting anything because all his shit belongs to the royal family, right? Like,
Mhm. Right.
your like, what you're getting in a divorce, if you're divorcing out of the royal family, is basically a severance package. Like, you're getting
Right.
money to live on, and you're probably getting, like, somewhere to live, but it's not for you to
Right.
own. Like, she moved to Buckingham Palace, w or not no, she didn't move to Buckingham, she moved to, she moved to Kensington.
Kensington. Yes.
She lived at Kensington, and so it was like, "Yeah, you get to live at Kensington, you get to, like, retain your royal title,
Mhm.
and we're gonna pay for your food and everything for the rest of
Yep.
your life," or whatever, but she's never gonna own
No,
Kensington
no.
Palace, like, versus, like, my parents owned a house
Mhm.
together, they had to, like, figure that shit
Mhm.
out, whatever, like, a divorce between 2 royal people could be very fast.
Yeah, and one point that Paul made in the Amazon, movie is that, like you said, they had to divide up not really assets, but kind of who was gonna take what, I guess, in some way. But when Charles told Diana to make a list of what she wants, she had said Paul was at the top of the list, and Diana got to take Paul with her over to Kensington and keep her as her butler. But I know Charles gave her a lot of pushback on that because Paul had basically served Queen Elizabeth for like 20 something years, 18 years prior to him leaving the queen and going to work with Diana. So Charles
Yeah.
was like super adamant about like, no, you can't have Paul.
Yeah, and again, like, she gets to have, like, 6 things, like, she probably was like, "I get my wedding
Hmm.
ring, I get this butler, and I get some clothes that I
Right.
once liked." Just,
I
like, that's probably
think
it.
she was
I
very,
mean,
very, very lucky to get to keep her wedding ring or her engagement ring, whatever. I was
probably.
very surprised about that.
I think that the only reason that she got to keep it because at the time, she was still even though it was at a weird kinda distance, she was still, like, part of the royal
Hmm.
family because she did have sons
Right.
there that were, like, her son was gonna be the next king
Yeah.
of England, like, or the future king of England, like, she was still attached to the royal family so much versus, like, I think if they didn't have kids already and they were just getting divorced, like, they would have been like, "No, you get
Hmm.
nothing." I love in the documentary that William and Harry did about her, I they made a point to say that, like, Harry asked for the ring when she was like, right after she died, but then he gave it to William when he was getting ready to propose because he knew that that was the only way that that ring would ever sit on the throne, and I was, like,
I
sobbing when they were
know.
saying that. I was like, "Oh my god, she should have been queen." Ugh.
So much of this is so fucking unfair.
I know.
So in June of 1994, Charles agrees to be interviewed by the author of his own biography on TV. So Charles, in this interview, he admitted to committing adultery with Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles said he tried to be loyal and committed to Diana until it became irrevocably broken. which I think is all you're fucking doing, sir, if I must
Yeah.
say. On that day that Charles's special is supposed to be aired, Diana attends a Vanity Fair fundraiser and steps out in what becomes known as the revenge dress. It's a gorgeous fucking dress. So Diana wore a
Mhm.
large sapphire diamond brooch given to her by the queen with her dress. The queen gave that to her for, I believe it was her wedding. So she wore that with this revenge dress. The brooch was eventually added to a 7 strand wide pearl choker. On her way into the fundraiser, Diana took her time greeting everyone along the way into the fundraiser and gave the media hundreds of chances to get the pictures that they wanted. This led the media to printing and saying, quote, Charles, how could you give this up?
Oh.
Diana looks like a million fucking bucks in this black dress. It's got a cute little black train off the left hip. If I could wear anything to my wedding, it would be that because it's fucking fabulous.
I like I hate the focus on the physical of
Mhm.
you know, how could you give this up because she's
Yeah,
so hot? Not like how could you give this up because she's a wonderful fucking person and a
right.
great mother to your children and
Yeah,
a great person to humanity that you don't deserve, but
exactly.
I mean, it does it had to make Diana feel good, and that's, I think, the most important thing.
So once Diana really, I think all along she really understood the power that she held in the media. But once she truly understood that power, she started to really use it for greater benefit. Diana used the media a lot after her divorce to benefit causes that usually aren't favored by the royal family. Like you mentioned earlier, she would touch and hold the hands of people with AIDS and people literally on their deathbeds from it. She concentrated a lot on the sick, the ill, the young, the dispossessed, and for issues like AIDS and leprosy, which is just beyond amazing humanitarian work that you don't really hear of anyone, I think, doing nowadays. It's all just donations and funding this to get that done. But she was like really out on the forefront and being the aid for these people that, they just didn't have. But these things were far beyond what the royals traditionally got involved with. And allegedly, the queen once asked Diana, why are you doing this? Why don't you do something nice?
Mm,
Um, so it wasn't a question of doing something nice for Diana. I think she just wanted to do something about these real
mhm.
world issues. But that's just that question from the queen is just a fucking gut punch.
Yeah, she's the worst.
So Diana tries to create distance when it comes to her personal life at this point. Again, she's really no longer in the royal family circle. She's really not doing much more of that. Um, but Diana travels to secluded areas under assumed names, which I thought was funny because I never knew that she did that.
I didn't either.
And no matter what, the cameras still get tipped off and they still end up finding her. Um, so in 1992, Diana addresses the press where she says she wasn't aware of how overwhelming the attention would become by being a public figure in the royal family. She is quoted as saying, quote, I will be seeking a more suitable way of combining a meaningful public role with hopefully a more private life. And this was really what kicked off all of her withdrawal. It stunned the paparazzi, especially knowing how much money they were making off of her. But this announcement doesn't really draw back any of the media. I think this is what really kicked them into high gear even more. Start becoming more intrusive because there aren't any more royal announcements to be made. She was watched constantly at the Kensington Palace. I know there were a lot of times that she would sneak out the back, or Paul would go run to town with the car, and she would be in the passenger seat or in the back seat of the car, just laying flat down. But like it was just constant surveillance on her, which I can't imagine. And once on vacation with the kids, she grew very agitated with the press and walks up to one of them. I think they were on holiday skiing actually. And there's still footage of this out there where she puts her hand on the camera and very politely, which I would not have done, asks them to please leave her family alone. Um,
Well, even before she did that, she had asked them, she said, "Okay, every day we will come out, you can take pictures of us and then leave us the fuck alone."
mhm.
And then they would just wouldn't do it. And then
No.
she gets shit for putting her hand on the camera like that after
Right.
she had already come to an agreement with them. She was like, if like most people are like, leave me the fuck alone the whole time. But she
Mhm.
was like, okay, I'll give you a little something. Every morning you can take a few pictures of us
Yep.
and then leave. And they couldn't even respect that. It's bullshit.
And what I can't believe, and it shocked a lot of everyone, especially Paul and the people in the Kensington palace. But I was really surprised to find that she got rid of all of her bodyguards,
Mm-hmm.
because I think too when she was on vacation or when she was going to these secluded areas and going under assumed names while traveling, she felt like it had to have been somebody um, close to her that was spying on her or giving all of this information out. But this obviously eliminated any protection she had, despite the quote freedom that she felt she had as distancing herself from everybody in the royal family. But I think Paul made a really good point in Amazon's documentary, but also in Diana and the Media's documentary. This really just created a new breed of paparazzi, and they became far more aggressive and they tried to provoke her out in public. And at this point, for Diana, there was really no point in just getting, or for the paparazzi, there was no point in getting just another picture of her. They just needed to create a story. Anything to make her cry, to make her angry, and anything to make a sale. And there's some pictures that I found where um, there's one in particular. She's coming out from shopping. The paparazzi, of course, is bombarding her, and she got into a taxi, I was surprised she got into a taxi and no one was waiting for her. But one of the paparazzis opened the taxi door and taunted her and said, "quote Lift your head up, you fucking bitch. I have a mortgage to pay."
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and in this picture, Diana's literally collapsed in between her legs, head down, hands or she's holding her hands by the wrist, but she just looks so fucking defeated.
God.
And there's another one where, she was driving and, uh, she was just getting so upset, and she's reaching her hand out to cover her face, and she's crying, but these pictures were just no longer the calm and beautiful Diana, just going about her business. They were pictures of basically a victim, like, running away, which is very fucking sad.
God, that's the problem with like media and like as much as I shit on the Kardashians or whatever, like we always not always, but most of the time forget that they are real people in
Yeah.
fact and like I I shit on the Kardashians and I try to be as like conscious about this as I can is that like I shit on them for like decisions that they make not just for
Mhm.
like like Chloe coming out and saying like girls sitting on the couch eating their Haagen-Dazs, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was a conscious decision that
Yeah.
Chloe made. That wasn't just existing as a
Right.
Kardashian.
Right.
Like we forget all the time that they are real people and like I mean even fucking like TikTok stars and stuff like
Mhm.
Elise Myers, that famous TikToker, she, has posted videos like crying where she's like just gotten done reading comments about people like talking so much shit about her and it's like
Mhm.
this woman is literally just a mom who made some funny videos on TikTok
Mm.
and a lot of people liked them. Anyway,
They
poor
suck.
Diana.
So in 1996, the divorce is final. Diana was awarded around 17 million pounds. She was also stripped of her title and she is no longer Her Royal Highness. And the next thing I have is Dodi Fayed, which was her new companion.
Yeah, so I think like one thing to note before talking about Dodie
Hmm.
is that Diana I always was kind of under the impression that Dodi Fayed was like this like man that came and swept her off her feet out like right after she got
Yeah.
divorced and she was just like ready to move on whatever. No. First of all, she had dated many men after the separation through the divorce proceedings and after the divorce was finalized. She like not only just affairs but like literally looking for like new partners, new husbands. And I I just thought that that was so like I thought that and I now I know why after doing all this research, but like their relationship was so played up that it was like this once in a
Hmm.
lifetime love and whatever, and it so was not. Not even a little bit.
He was a Dodie, he was a filmmaker, wasn't he?
So, yeah, I don't know if he had any if he was a filmmaker, that was like a hobby, that wasn't
Okay.
really like that wasn't a real job that it's not like he was the next
Yeah.
Spielberg or something, but, like, the way that the family had money is that they were just, like, investors, like,
Okay.
they owned a bunch of hotels and, um, properties and whatever that were generating
Mhm.
income for them and, like, wealth, like, they were
They
extremely
were
wealthy,
very
yeah, they owned, like, the Ritz in Paris, which,
Yeah.
like, is fucking insane. Like, that is probably one of the most famous hotels in
Mhm.
the world. Another thing is, like, they talk about how Diana and Dodi spent all this time on his yacht. That was, like,
Uh-huh.
where their whirlwind romance kind of took
Yeah.
place, which, again, another thing to note, their whole relationship, quote, unquote, was 30 days, 30,
Really?
a month, 30 days
Oh, I
from
didn't know
beginning to
that.
end. So
Hmm.
she had been dating Hasnat Khan, who was a cardiologist and a surgeon, for 2
Oh,
years.
shit.
And then they broke up because he was like, ma'am, I love you, but you have way too much media attention
Mhm.
on you. And I am dedicated to being the best, like, heart surgeon in the world.
Fuck yeah.
And I cannot do that if I have this much media
Mhm.
attention on me. So, like, I can't be with you. And it really broke her heart. So was just like out doing her thing.
Hmm.
Like, they had literally like just broken up. And then she met Muhammad Al Fayed, which is Dodi's
Mhm.
father. And he said, would you like to take your son sailing? And she said, sure. They did
Mm.
not have a boat at the time. He went out and bought a yacht just to
Get the
take
fuck out.
Diana, William, and Harry sailing.
Must be nice.
Also, Dodi had at least a girlfriend, possibly a fiance, at the time that he and Diana met.
Oh.
So he had been dating a supermodel named Kelly Fisher. And when they said it in the documentary for the first time, I was not listening
Uh-huh.
very closely, and I thought they said Carrie Fisher, and I was like, when the fuck did Carrie Fisher come into this? Um, but she was a supermodel, and they had been in Paris together visiting like the Al Fayed
Mhm.
properties, and Muhammad was like, I need you to come entertain Diana for me, like, you're gonna
Wow.
come on this thing. And he just left Kelly and went and met up with Diana. They went on like a short sailing trip for a couple of days. They left, and because Diana had to take William and Harry back to the
Mhm.
queen, basically. And then Mohammed called Diana and said, would you like to go back sailing? And she was like, sure, like, I don't have my kids anymore. And he
Oh.
was like, oh, that's fine. And so then he sent Dodi and Diana off on their own because he wanted Dodi to marry her.
Damn.
And it was just all like orchestrated by his dad, which is like very bizarre because the whole Diana Charles
She
marriage was
just left
orchestrated by
that.
the
Yeah. Oh
queen.
my god. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Fuck.
And so they went on this ship and they were just like out there for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. And then Diana was like, I gotta get off this ship. Like, I need to be on dry
Yeah.
land. And they got off. They were in, I think in Santorini is where they got off of the ship, and then they just like flew back to Paris, and they had been hanging out there. And then he during their 30 days, Diana talked on the phone with Paul, and we'll get into some things about Paul later, but Paul says that he was going to propose, but Diana had no interest in marrying Dodi. She didn't even really like him. Like, she thought he was a fine person
Mm.
to be a companion for these couple of weeks while she was on vacation,
Uh-huh.
basically. But she was really only dating Dodi to make her ex, Hasnat Khan, jealous because she wanted to be with him, but
Oh.
he was like, I can't be with you because of all this media
God
attention.
damn it.
So he and the way that Dodi was acting and all of the gifts that he was giving Diana and whatever, Diana was like, I think he's going to propose. And Paul was like, take the ring because there's going to be a million pictures of it, but put it on your right hand and don't
Oh.
say yes, but then you guys can have like a private
Yeah.
conversation about how you cannot actually get married to him. Which, like, if he had already proposed to this Kelly Fisher
Right.
woman and then he was about to propose to
He's a
Diana, like, that
dirtbag.
is, yeah, and that is like a fucking marriage that does not mean a goddamn thing because
Yeah.
it's a few
He just wants
days
the name of
after.
Diana too, at
Oh,
that point.
exactly. And the father is really the one that just wanted the name because he was the one, like, Dodie was a product of his father in the sense that, like, they both, like,
Mhm.
wanted fame, but there was way more of, like, the father, because he was the one who, like, built up their name and, like,
Yeah.
made them famous, like, even tangentially famous, to
Mhm.
begin with, and so that was, like, the kind of synopsis of their whole romance to begin
Hmm.
with.
To kinda, like, backtrack a little bit, I know that, like you had mentioned when they were on the yacht and it was just the 2 of them sailing around, there was a picture or first of all, there was a tip off to the paparazzi that Diana was gonna be sailing with Dodie, and allegedly, it was Diana herself that tipped off the paparazzi. It was one of her favorite paparazzi guys that got the best pictures of her all this time, and she told them where they were going to be, so they're on the yacht, and they're kind of embracing, holding each other. It's the back view of Diana, and Dodie's got his arms around her, and they're kissing. So the paparazzi that took the picture printed it. It was a grainy as fuck picture.
Yeah, it was.
Diana called the paparazzi back and was upset with how grainy the picture was. So I guess that makes sense now, like why she wanted those sort of moments captured to make her ex jealous. I didn't
Yeah.
know that at all. But damn.
And as a result of that grainy ass picture,
Hmm.
uh, Ms. Kelly Fisher filed a lawsuit against Dodie for breach of contract because he had already proposed marriage to her.
Shut
And
up.
yeah, and she was represented by one Miss Gloria Allred, who, if you don't know who that is, she is one of the, like, foremost, feminist
Hmm.
lawyers, especially
Hmm.
in Hollywood. She has represented one of Harvey Weinstein's victims, Mimi
Hmm.
Haley, and she also represented several of R. Kelly's victims in the first trial against him.
Yep.
So I thought that was just a little fun, like,
That's fucking crazy. I
pop
didn't know
culture.
that. Did
Um,
you watch, the Hulu Victoria's Secret's Angels and Demons?
no.
Okay, so Miss Gloria makes an appearance in it because allegedly, Harvey Weinstein has a fucking tie to the CEO of Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yeah, because 'cause they're all Epstein buddies.
Yeah,
That's the tie, but yeah.
yeah. But I had no idea. I was when she popped up, my, like, jaw had dropped, and Christian was like, "What? Who is that?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's fucking" I was like, "It's Gloria Allred. Like, what the fuck is she doing here?" But I was wow.
But the case never went anywhere, even though Gloria, would've probably won for her because she's
Oh,
a very good
absolutely.
lawyer, but they withdrew the suit after he died, luckily. I
Damn.
mean, rightfully, I guess.
Right. So, I guess this takes us to August 30th of 1997.
Mhm.
Diana and Dodie end up going back to Paris. Diana was just ready to get home. Vacation was nice. She was over it. My picture didn't turn out how I wanted. So they end up at the Hotel Ritz in Paris, and outside is a huge mob of paparazzi. They were actually tipped off by the head of hotel security, Henri Paul. So they were tipped off, but there's a lot of CCTV footage that was mentioned in almost everything that I watched because these are the last few images that were ever really taken of Diana. But they get home or they get to the hotel around well after midnight and they're in the elevator. They're caught going through hallways. Henri was supposed to drive Diana and Dodie to his apartment. And the Ritz's CCTV shows Diana and Dodie trying to avoid the paparazzi by leaving from the back entrance around midnight. Henri spent the last few hours prior to them getting in at the bar. I don't know if it was a bar in the hotel or a local bar close to the
I
hotel.
think it was the bar in the hotel.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So this really plays into the demise, but the last few pictures that I have that I found of Diana were where she's in the back seat, Dodie is seated to her left. She's just hiding her face from the cameras. Dodie is essentially covering her, protecting her. And one of the very last few pictures taken of Diana is of Henri Paul in the driver's seat, a security guard in the passenger seat, and you can see Diana's head. It looks like she's looking out the rear window. At 12:20 a.m., 2 minutes after leaving the hotel, being followed by paparazzi on bikes and scooters, the Mercedes crashes into a pillar in a highway tunnel and then with full force ends crashed into a wall. And the pictures, I'm sure we've all seen them. the pictures of this car is it's fucked. So Dodie and Henri are killed instantly.
Neither him nor or Diana were wearing a seatbelt.
Thing that I have next is Henri's autopsy. According to a toxicologist, Robert Forrest, he suggested that Henri could have consumed up to 8 glasses of, quote, strong spirits hours before the
Mhm.
crash. And according to tests carried out by 2 French medical experts hours after the Paris crash, the levels of carbon monoxide in Mr. Paul's blood ranged between 12 and 21%. This is compared to a normal reading of around 2 to 4% in the human body. And it goes on to say that several possibilities were explored, including the suggestion that the driver inhaled gas from the airbag of the Mercedes after impact. So they're kind of saying or contributing it to that's where all that carbon monoxide came from. But going back to Professor Forrest, he discredits this and says that it could be due to Henri's heavy smoking. And also on CCTV, Henri is seen functioning in pretty good health. He parks the car, walks around and into the hotel, and kneels down to even tie his shoes. So nothing seemed to be off. His balance wasn't of, a drunk person or anything like that. The security guard, Trevor Reese Jones, he is the only survivor of the crash. So at 12:27 a.m., the first call to the police is logged. At 12:40 a.m., the police arrive, and this gives paparazzi 20 minutes of uninterrupted filming time. As Diana is rushed to the hospital, the police arrest paparazzi that are at the scene on suspicion of gross negligence for failing to help victims of a car crash. One lawyer says that the paparazzi there asked some of their colleagues not to call the police and to give them more time to take pictures. So, key photographer Jean-Paul Doucet, he was one of France's top paparazzos. He was actually Diana's favorite paparazzi. He had photographed some of the most well-known pictures of Diana. He was called to the scene by a friend around 2 a.m. Once he got there, this friend told him that he had followed the car, saw the crash, and took pictures. And he asks Jean Paul what he should do with some of the pictures he took. Jean Paul quotes this guy as saying, "You got to help me. I've got this and I don't know what to do. I'm frightened." Jean Paul says once he looked at them, he called them trash and said they needed to be gotten rid of. Jean Paul claims to have ripped them up and disposed of them in the sewer in the streets. He also said that these were the pictures that shouldn't have been published, which thankfully they're not because obviously nothing like that is tasteful in any way, but no one should ever have to see anything like that.
There were so many paparazzi there that were taking pictures and not trying to help whatsoever, and it makes me so sick.
On her way to the hospital, Diana's heart stopped beating, but she was revived and started breathing again. There are accounts of from a firefighter, Xavier Gourmelon, who led the response team in pulling Diana from the wreckage. He says that she had asked her, "My God, what has happened?" And those are quoted as being her final words. At 4 a.m. on August 31st, Diana is pronounced dead at La Petite. S- She's pronounced dead at a hospital.
I don't have it. I I took French for 4 years and could absolutely pronounce this, but I don't have it written down. I don't know why I didn't write it down. Le Petit Salpêtrière.
Fabulous. So she was pronounced dead at 4 a.m. at the age of 36. Diana sustained very severe internal injuries, which ultimately led to her death.
So, Paul was one of the like first people that they called when she was admitted to the hospital and everything and trying to get just some like people that actually knew her around.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they called him. He had just walked back into his house after seeing Beauty and the Beast, which he says that Diana said was the story of her life. I don't really know how true
Mhm.
that is or like how that really fits. I don't really feel like that's a story of her life, but
Right.
she was already
I
royal,
agree.
kind of.
Mhm.
Um, but they the Brazilian ambassador's wife had called from Washington, D.C. to Paul just to ask if the accident was true. He didn't even know,
Oh, shit.
like, what had happened at first. That was, like, his first moment of like finding out about it. Then he called her cell phone, which was kind of new at the time. This was 94 or 97, excuse me. So like cell phones were still very new at the time. And but she had left it with her, or left it in the Ritz for some reason.
Mm.
And so he couldn't get a hold of her, obviously. And
Oh my
then
god.
finally at 3 o'clock, he was told that the crash was fatal. He flew from New York City to Paris, and the British ambassador picked him up and took him to the hospital. I mean, after she died, what he was very involved in her like funeral procession and like
Mhm.
having a vigil for her at Kensington Palace and everything. One of the things that really, I guess, shocked me is that the royal family was shocked that everybody was so upset about her death. Like they just were not
Yeah.
prepared for her to be so loved by the world. I guess they thought that like after they were divorced, everybody was gonna be like, oh, who cares about her anymore? But like that
Right.
wasn't at all true. We had already seen
Uh-uh.
evidence of that. And so the queen kind of hid Harry and William at Balmoral. Like she was just like, stay inside and don't let the paparazzi in. And they didn't fly a flag, at which he said it made it seem like they didn't care, which I don't really know what that means, but obviously it's some sort of like signal. Maybe it's like us putting our flags at half staff. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like an alternate flag that they fly kind of
Yeah.
thing. Paul asked for Diana to be brought to Kensington because her body was at Balmoral, and then but he wanted her to be brought quote unquote home to Kensington. And so he hosted a vigil, but no one from the royal family came, he said.
That is so fucked
I
up.
know. And then he said that he sat with her like her coffin, casket, whatever,
Mhm.
and just talked to her all night and like told her all the things that he wanted her to hear.
Mm.
And when he was saying this in the documentaries, when I started to like sob, like
Mm,
this was the
God.
first moment, because this was the first documentary that I watched that
Mhm.
like I felt really sad about her death. Like before it had just kind of been like this historical event that had happened. And then this was the first moment when I was like, she's a real person with real people who care about her.
And in so many ways, like, Paul talked about her in a way that really humanized her. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
Diana, this person on a
for
pedestal that
real.
we see, like, he had a real relationship with her that I think we're so lucky to be able to hear his recounting of all his memories with her.
Yeah, and I keep mentioning that we'll get into it, but there are some people who have an unfavorable opinion of Paul. But I think, regardless of whether or not he was embellishing things or whatever, he still obviously had a relationship with her that was very special and very important. And he knew her. He knew her as a
Yeah,
person, not just as a royal figure. And
right.
he obviously had a special connection with her. So the night after they had that failed, I guess, vigil at Kensington, the next morning was her like actual public burial.
Mhm.
And she was buried at Westminster Abbey, which is the other like main royal chapel. Other So she was married at St. Paul's Cathedral, which is like the one big royal
Mhm.
chapel, and then there's the Westminster Abbey is also a royal like religious space. Her brother gave a speech during her funeral.
I love the speech that he gave.
Oh my god, the tea was scalding.
Yes.
He was like so pissed.
He was very
Yeah,
pissed.
and he made a like an excellent point that like she was a human who deserved a life, and like the royal family did not acknowledge that.
Mhm.
They didn't respect that.
He took a lot of jabs at them. They were kind of those underlying jabs where, like, you read between the lines and you get to it eventually, but, like, his words were very well chosen.
Yes, for sure.
Did you see that the streets were lined with 2.5 million people? Like, just
Yes.
in the streets alone, 2.5 million people.
Yeah.
Watching the video footage of her casket on the horse-drawn carriage or on the was she on the shoulders or was she on the horses
That was
being
I
carried?
think it was when she was on the horses that you're talking about.
It was just, like, how fucking silent it
Oh my
was.
god.
Like, it was unbelievable, and, like, eventually, like, one person would break out in a cry or would say something, and
Yeah.
then, like, the ripple effect, it was I cannot imagine having been there or what that must have been like.
And the other thing that really struck me is when they were driving, everybody was just throwing flowers at the car as it was passing
Mhm.
by that carried her body.
Yeah.
And it just kept like building up in front of this windshield, and I was like, the driver's not gonna be
Mhm.
able to see. He's gonna crash. Oh my god.
Right. He even pulled over to take them off, like,
Did they really?
put them on the yeah,
Oh, I didn't see that.
he had to make a call or make a signal to the police and the people in front of the car, and he said, like, "We can't keep driving like this, we can't see, like, we have to take some off," so they all stopped basically, like, on an off-ramp of, like, a freeway, it fucking looks like, and he takes all the flowers off the front and places them on the side of the road, and they
God.
just keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, so she was taken to her actual burial site and they had lunch before like the actual burial happened, which I thought was a
Mm.
little bizarre. Paul sat next to Prince Charles, who and Paul says that he only spoke about his garden the entire lunch, which is
Shut
so
up.
fucking tasteless.
Mm.
He just like didn't give a shit.
Didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. And then Princess Diana's brother took off the royal standard, which is like the covering, like the flag looking thing
Mhm.
that covered it, and put the Spencer standard on because they were like sort of a royal
Yes.
family. They had their own. Paul had been wearing Diana's mother's cross on a chain and he gave it back to her. And apparently, Diana's mother said to him, at least I had her for 9 months, meaning that
Mm.
like the only time that Diana ever belonged to her mother was while she was pregnant with her,
Oh
which
my
like I
god.
have a little bit of a problem with the whole like parents own their children thing, but also like
Yeah.
I get it that like she was I and there's a whole subcontext to that about the divorce because
Mhm.
Diana was very young. She was the youngest child of their family, so she was very young when her
Mhm.
parents got divorced, and there was kind of a messy divorce, and like they were
Mhm.
forced to kind of stay with their father because he was really the royal one and all this stuff. And like,
Right.
there's a lot more subcontext to that, but at the same time, like, so sad. Like her mother, like there's no that whole thing that there's no word for parents who have
Right.
lost their children
Mhm.
because it's not supposed to happen.
No.
It's just
Not
so
a
sad, so sad.
and I know that Charles, her brother Earl, he had a lot, to do with deciding where she actually ended up, in being because they took her to the childhood home, the Althorpe estate, and that's where she was
Yes,
finally laid, so Charles was like, "Don't want her at the vault. Let's keep her on the property because let's bring her back home. Like,
yeah,
really bring her back home." Earl really wanted a place for William and Harry to be able to visit whenever and without any, privacy concerns or
yeah.
paparazzi or anything like that. So that small island you had mentioned that she was buried on, there have been 4 attempts I found for grave robbers that tried to get access to her
Fucking
burial site.
A.
No one thankfully was ever successful, but that's when they really decided to kind of up the security and the safety of where she is placed. So in 2014, Diana's former personal chef, Darren McGrady, he visited to pay his respects and he was very upset about the state of her burial site. So he actually went on Twitter to express his disappointment and he tweeted, "If I cared for Princess Diana in life as you were doing in death, I would have been fired." And then he tags the Althorpe estate and
Mm,
does hashtag clean the lake. And that was posted on August 13th in 2014. So after that, Earl and the estate did respond by remodeling Diana's burial site. This was the first facelift of the property that it had seen in 350 years.
wow.
This moving of her burial site and everything they did in total cost them $27 million.
Wow.
And in a 2011 interview, Earl said that Prince Charles has not been to visit Diana at the estate. When he was asked why he thought Prince Charles hadn't visited, Spencer replied, um, quote, "Look at it from his point of view. It's an ex-wife at the end of the day, and maybe that's how he views it." He recently said he wanted to draw a line under the whole episode and let Diana rest in peace, and maybe he views him not going to see her as helping that process. So the remodel that they put Diana to finally lay and rest at, is actually really beautiful. So it's no longer in the middle of the lake that she was once on. She's kind of off to the back part of where there's a tree line. Um, so it's essentially a temple. It's got 4 beautiful columns in front of it, but it includes a black and white silhouette of her. Diana's name is engraved at the top of the temple, and it also bears a quote from Diana to the left of where her silhouette is. The quote is, "Nothing brings me more happiness than trying to help the most vulnerable people in society. It is a goal and an essential part of my life, a kind of destiny. Whoever is in distress can call on me. I will come running wherever they are."
And then one of the other things that was, I guess, sort of a slap
Mhm.
uh, from the royal family is that on her grave it just says Princess of Wales Diana, and then
Oh,
um,
yes.
uh, apparently, if anybody else like in the royal family died, it would say His Highness or Her Royal Highness, his
Mhm.
Royal Highness or Her Royal Highness,
Yep.
and they deliberately took that opportunity to kind of jab at her and not put Her Royal Highness on there just because she was divorced recently and
They
they
fucking suck.
they
Oh
just
my
hate her.
god.
Another thing I didn't realize is she was 36, William was 15, and Harry was 12
Oh,
when she died. Can you imagine being a fucking 15-year-old kid and your
no.
mom dying? And your mom dying like that?
Fuck no.
Like,
Absolutely not.
God.
The last thing that I have is, charges brought against the paparazzi. 9 paparazzi were charged with manslaughter, but those charges were eventually dropped. 3 were convicted of invasion of privacy for photographing the dead and dying. Each of those 3 were fined €1 by a French judge, which is around $1 a piece.
Oh my God.
Around $1 a piece, like, what does that do? Like, there was no justice, there was
Yeah, there
no
is you
nothing.
shouldn't have even fined them at that point. Like,
And to have charges dropped for those other, what, 6 paparazzis?
yeah,
Fuck
like it's got to be
off.
all or nothing.
Right.
Well, I guess this is a good segue into some of the conspiracies.
Okay. Fuck yeah.
Because talking about the paparazzi.
Mhm.
So, most of the conspiracies are put forth by Muhammad Al-Fayed, Dodi's father.
Oh. Okay.
Um, most of the most people who were involved either in Diana's life or with the case officially agree that it was an accident, and ultimately that is the official ruling, is that
Mhm.
this was purely an accident, probably mostly at the fault of just the driver being mildly intoxicated. They don't think
Mhm.
that he was like insanely,
Right.
drunk or whatever, but that he was mildly intoxicated and that there was just a lot of stress and that nobody was wearing a seatbelt.
Mhm.
That was the other big thing. One of the things is that Trevor Reese Jones, who was the bodyguard,
Mhm.
had been on the yacht with Dodie and Diana the whole time,
Hmm.
and he had gone to Muhammad and asked for additional guards because he felt unsafe,
Oh, no
but
shit.
they denied him. I'm not sure, it was never clarified for me, but I'm not sure if like Dodi or Muhammad or both or
Uh-huh.
whatever, whoever the powers that be were, but they said that they denied his request for the additional guards because they felt unsafe.
Holy shit.
Henri Paul, the driver, was definitely drinking. He was drinking something called Ricard liquor. I don't know if you talked about that, but it's stronger than wine, so pretty potent stuff. So one of the other things is on the stand. The Al Fayed lawyer Michael Mansfield accused Trevor Reese Jones of negligence. Like they tried to bring that as a charge because they said it was his fault that no one had seatbelts on. But I argue they're all fucking
What? They're adults,
adults.
yes.
I don't think that anybody else can be held liable for an adult not wearing a seatbelt in a
Right.
car.
No, I agree.
And then I think that's just like a very dangerous precedent to set. There's also some conspiracy that I guess the number one conspiracy is that they were killed by MI6, which is like the super secret,
Mm.
spy agency
Mhm.
of the British whatever
Right.
government. There is evidence that Prince Philip is Islamophobic. I don't doubt that
Hmm.
for a second. They are
I don't either.
not good people. And that Muhammad made a statement saying that Prince Philip is a super Islamophobic. He's a German bigot and would not tolerate the future king having a Muslim half brother because he
Oh.
thinks, or he posits, doesn't just think, he suggests this in public, that Diana was already pregnant and they were about to get married, because she had said that she was going to have a big announcement for August 31st. She had told the press
Oh.
that. And he says that the announcement was that she was pregnant and getting married to Dodi Al-Fayed. But if you remember that I said that their whole romance was 30 days long,
Yeah.
the likelihood that she got pregnant and knew in that time is so slim. Like, that would have mean they had to have sex on the first day that they hung out together, and she would have had to be ovulating at that time. And, like, also, even when you are ovulating, the chances of getting pregnant are not that high at 36. Like, it
Mhm.
gets harder
Yeah.
the older you get. And not that 36 is old, but it gets harder at that
Right.
age. The chances of that are so small. And also that, like, first day of that, like, 30 days, William and Harry were on the ship with them. Well, like, why would she be having sex with this
Right.
strange new man
I
when
don't
her
s yeah, I
sons
don't see that
are
happening.
with them? So I think that that's a bunch of baloney.
Mhm.
But a lot of people were like, why would he suddenly kill this new is like Muslim guy that she was hanging out with
Mhm.
when she had been dating a Muslim guy for 2
Exactly.
years, Hasnat Khan?
Yeah.
And they say that there was never a ring in talks with Hasnat, but there was with Dodi, and so they had to step in before that became a thing. But
Jesus.
also, like, she was already divorced and, like, not a part of, like, they already stripped her of her titles,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, why do they care so much what she said, what she does? But they were saying that it was because they didn't want the king to have a half brother.
Fuck
Um,
him. Oh my god.
so his theory about how that happened, that MI6 killed him, is that there was a white Fiat with a dog in it, which, like, fuck you for hurting the dog, that hit the Mercedes and then
Mm.
flashed a strobe light in Henri's face.
Oh, I have
Um,
heard of this one. Okay.
I don't know, there's no evidence. And Trevor Rees-Jones and his partner, who was also a employee of the Fayed
Mhm.
family, both have testified that Muhammad, like, pressured them and threatened them into corroborating this story,
Hmm.
which neither of them know anything about. I
Weird.
know that trauma can affect your memory.
Right.
Like, Trevor Rees Jones was both emotionally and physically traumatized by this, but I don't know, it just seems very far-fetched. There's a counter conspiracy to that, that maybe the Fayeds had something to do with it because the hotel and the car and everything that they were, like, in and around
Mhm.
was all owned by the Fayeds. So, who knows?
Wasn't there talk
And
too of
then
the brakes having a problem supposedly, and then
so that wasn't this specific car that
oh,
they were
okay.
in at the time of
Okay.
the accident, but they're supposedly 10 months before her accident, Diana had written Paul a letter that said, "I'm afraid that yes, that Charles is planning something and it's involving a car," and she was extremely
Oh,
paranoid about it. And
fuck.
they were constantly checking her cars that she was driving around in, just to put her at ease.
Mhm.
Not because anybody thought that there was actually something happening,
Right.
but more for peace of mind
Oh,
for her.
hell no.
Similar but
Yeah.
separate
Mhm.
conspiracies there. Another conspiracy is that there was medical sabotage. So, French protocols at the time for the way that she was stabilized at the scene before being transferred to the hospital,
Mhm.
she was at the crash site for like 2 hours before she was brought to the hospital.
Oof.
A lot of that has to do with just like there were EMTs
Yeah.
and paramedics, whatever they're called
Mhm.
in France, working on her for that whole time,
Mhm.
stabilizing her. But there are some people that posit that if the crash had been in England or America or somewhere else with, like, different medical
Mhm.
protocols for that type of thing, that she maybe would have survived it. Like, she would have been very seriously, severely injured, probably in an ICU for several weeks, something like that. But so, and then on top of that, like, the way that the French handled it, also, what if she had been wearing her seatbelt? What would have happened?
Right.
I mean, that's probably the biggest one,
Mhm.
which I don't, that's not really a conspiracy. That's just kind of a,
Safety, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. And then also that if their car had hit the wall before the pillar, it would have
Mhm.
changed the way that the car, like, impacted everything else, that
Right.
they think that it might have been a less dramatic, I guess,
Mhm.
impact, that they might have survived that as well. It was I don't know.
Shit. So what do you think? What's your final consensus?
Definitely an accident. I just
I
don't
agree.
think that I mean, so there's, like, a theory about how conspiracies, or, like, a tagline about how conspiracies rise, and that it's real
Mhm.
life plot holes lead to conspiracy theories. And
Mm.
I think the plot holes are just that even people as famous and as, like, studied, I don't even know how to call it, but
Mhm.
the obsession with Diana, even those people have secrets. You're
Yeah, oh, yeah.
never going to know every single thing about another person, it doesn't matter how famous they are.
Right.
And so these plot holes that these people are positing are just secrets that she has as a woman with a private life, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody fully knows the extent of her relationship with Dodie, but that's
Mhm.
okay. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that somebody was murdered, you know?
Right, right.
I mean, I think she was like murdered in the sense that these paparazzis were chasing them, but I
100%.
but it's not but I still think it was a car accident for sure. I
Yeah.
don't think there was a strobe light. I don't think that, they did anything extra other than just be shitty paparazzis.
Fuck.
A few more things about the Al Fayed or about Mohammed Al Fayed in particular.
Mhm.
He was extremely paranoid, so like him positing all these conspiracies is not a shock to anybody. He had 4 bodyguards around him at all times,
After this or before?
always.
What
Um
the hell?
the Vanity Fair article that I read quoted, "He has the look of a man who knows that he is disliked and doesn't care. He has also claimed that Prince Charles has conspired with his father and his, quote, Dracula family to murder Diana so that he could marry, quote, crocodile Camilla Parker Bowles," which
Oh my
calling her a
god.
crocodile is so fucking funny. And then he also said that Muhammad Al Fayed ungraciously described his son's former fiance, Kelly Fisher, as a hooker and gold digger,
Jeez.
which you bitch.
Yeah.
Why do we talk about women like this? It's
Exactly.
so
Fuck, 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 fuck,
fucked
fuck.
up. Yeah.
Oh,
So, like, that's just, like, some insight into how Muhammad Al-Fayed was that, like, for him to be like, him positing all of these conspiracies and having this big court case about them and everything and accusing all
mhm.
of these people of all this misconduct and whatever was just a way for him to get additional attention. I mean, after
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
after their death, he had a department store in London that was, like, one of the
Uh-huh.
biggest ones. It doesn't I if it exists anymore, he doesn't own it, but
Uh-huh.
he had a tribute to them, like a almost like a shrine to Dodie and Diana and, like, saying that they were, like, the greatest love story of all time and all this
Really?
stuff, and it's like, dude, you just want your son to be known as, like, Diana's last lover kind of thing when he was barely even a lover. She didn't even like him.
Yeah, exactly.
This dude is fucked up.
What a weird fucking thing to cling to also,
It's
like,
just social climbing.
I
It's
don't like it.
yeah,
I don't like
it's
it.
really
It's
bad.
disgusting.
And then also, to discredit more people, I guess, um, the author of that Vanity Fair article that I talked about, he thinks that the butler, Paul Burrell, was just in it for the money, especially because he was put on trial for stealing many of the princess's things in 2002.
What?
Yeah, I guess, and he was accused by the queen,
Oh,
which
fuck.
like gives me like a lot of pause. It makes me think that it's kind of credible because the
Yeah.
queen was like loved him, and I mean, she could have turned on him after, the whole like him taking Princess Diana's side basically,
Right.
but still, he is now worth $30 million from like all of like his book deals and movie deals and
Holy
whatever.
shit.
And he relocated to Florida. He left Britain, which like I don't know, I've heard that Britain weather sucks,
Why
but I know.
Florida of all
Fuck Florida. I'm
places?
from there, I can say that. And then there was a whole thing that The Sun, which is a tabloid in Britain, videotaped him, which like is totally entrapment, but they videotaped him secretly admitting to lying on the stand that he said that Diana on the stand he said that Diana's mother called her a whore on the phone 2 months before her death, but then when he was being videotaped in a hotel room drunk, he said that he was lying.
What the hell?
Yeah. So, I don't know. There's just it's like a lot of surrounding things that make everything else seem less
Yeah.
believable. So
Right.
I don't know. It's just all worth mentioning.
Damn. Well, I'm on the same side that it was purely a terrible accident. Just being in the general public, like, we'll never know. We'll never know what really went on behind those closed doors or what conversations were truly had and actions were really taken and what was orchestrated, what wasn't. But that's obviously the shit that is gonna tease our curiosity until the end of time too, because that's stuff we wanna know, like, as private as it is, but ooh. We did it. We did Diana.
Yeah, 2.5 hours later or whatever.
Oh my god, girl, that was a good one.
Yes, girl, it was.
It was quite a doozy. You guys, thanks for joining us and sticking through to the end. Hopefully you did. I know it was a long one. We are so excited about this new adventure that we're all going on.
Please follow us on Instagram at Your Next Pod. Again, that's Youre.
Yes.
And if you want to follow me, you can find me at Brooke Bovier, Bovier.
And you can follow me at Emilio R. Ybarra, Ybarra, and that's R like the letter R, not the word R. If you guys liked us and enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. This is going to help us reach so many more listeners and will drive us to get out more and more content for you to binge listen to.
Yes, please do that. It would mean a lot. If you have a case you'd like us to cover, you can fill out the brief form on our website, yournextpodcast.com, or email us at yournextpod@gmail.com.
This is also real. It's wild. So what are we covering next?
So next we are covering the case of Hella Crafts, which is also known as the wood chipper murders. This poor woman was murdered by her disgusting husband.
Fucking shitbag.
Yeah.
So that episode is live and out for you guys to listen to. We will also be releasing new episodes every other Tuesday going forward, so please follow us and turn on those notifications on Spotify or wherever you're listening.
Yes, thanks guys.
Thanks. Bye.